Many congressional lawmakers are concerned about Saudi Arabia's role in supporting terrorist activities in the Middle East. But now a bipartisan group of senators is preparing a special privilege resolution as a warning to not take America's support for granted. One America's John Hines has more from Washington.
As the leadership presses to adjourn the Senate this week, Kentucky Republican Rand Paul has announced that he is preparing to offer a privilege resolution to demand a vote on the suspension of arms sales to Saudi Arabia.
The Arms Export Control Act of 1976 allowed for this procedure that if one senator was opposed to an arms sale, they were able to demand a vote and get that vote. And this is, like I say, an extraordinary procedure. The vote that we will be having is supported by myself, Senator Murphy, Senator Lee, and Senator Franken. And this vote will be to block arms sales to Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia needs to make a decision, says Paul.
So Saudi Arabia needs to decide, and they need to change their behavior, and they need to decide if they really are and do want to be our ally, or if they're intent on supporting radical Islam around the world.
Paul's privilege resolution is not sanctioned by Senate leadership, and it must be considered regardless of the Senate schedule, says Brian Darling, former counsel and communications director for Senator Paul.
They're trying to complete a continuing resolution and trying to get it done as soon as possible so these senators and House members can get back on the campaign trail and try and save their seat. So there's an incentive to get out of town. But this is one of those situations where Senator Paul and some Democratic senators can band together, offer a privilege resolution, and they can get it considered before they recess for the elections.
Darling says that this bipartisan group of 4 senators share common concerns about Saudi Arabia's policies.
Saudi Arabia has had a mixed record with support for the United States in the war on terror, but also there are concerns that they fund Islamic teachings that may be an incubator of anti-American hatred.
Darling explains that a privilege resolution is rare in the Senate, but that it is one of the few maneuvers where something can be considered immediately without incurring a filibuster or the usual rules of the Senate procedure. Senator Paul says he is likely to offer his privilege resolution in the next day or two. John Hines, One America News, Washington.